When you're buying a car, the process can be overwhelming. Better way to do it, TrueCar. Compare models by options, discovery, pricing to reviews, get everything you need. New TrueCar, I used it, saved $3,000. I did, about a year ago. Terry Bradshaw is one of my favorite people at Fox, a Hall of Famer back in the 80s. You know, we talk about the draft. He was taken number one in 1970 by the Steelers and then played 14 years for Pittsburgh. 4-time Super Bowl champ, multiple-time Super Bowl MVP. And by the way, this morning or this afternoon, wherever you're at, Terry, are you in Oklahoma? Are you in Florida? Where are you?
I'm in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah. You know, you played 14 years with one team, and it was mostly really a good story. Were you a tad shocked with Tom going to Tampa?
Oh, man. Yeah, I would say so, for sure. I was shocked that he left New England. That made no sense after 20 seasons to be leaving New England. So what's the problem, right?
Yeah. So
there's a problem. You don't leave New England unless there's a problem. And so to me, there had to be a rip. He's tired of Belichick's demanding ways. Belichick may have been tired of him after 20 years. That's very likely. You know, two people, from what I have heard, similar. Tom's real demanding as far as the offensive game plan, and Belichick's real demanding as a head coach. So maybe it's best that they move on with their lives. Belichick will continue coaching, but I thought that Tom would never leave New England. That made no sense to me. It's not a Brett Favre thing when he leaves Green Bay because they had Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
And they were ready to move on. And Favre almost almost got Minnesota when he went to Minnesota into the Super Bowl, but they lost to the Saints. And then he went to New York Jets. You look at Montana going to Kansas City, he got them in the playoffs. But they had Steve Young behind Montana. And then you look at Johnny Unitas going to San Diego, and that was just not necessary. John's career was way over, and should have never done that. So Namath and Nika Burke-Jones, there's various reasons why players move to teams, but this is one that made no sense to me whatsoever. I did not understand why they would do it. And I don't think I'm wrong. I think it's just a personal thing. I think Tom had enough of him, and Bill probably had enough of Tom, and Tom thinks he'll take his talents down to Tampa Bay, and they've got great receivers, and the coach down there is an offensive-minded coach. He's been great with Roethlisberger. He was great in Indianapolis. With the Colts. Coach of the year there, actually, before going to Arizona. So Tom will go into a system that's going to be beneficial to him, and it'll have to be. And he's 40, listen, eventually you say he is 43 years old. He is not a hard body. He's not someone that pounds weight. He does the flexibility, and he does all those things, and I don't know what he does, but he's not a weightlifter, and he's not a guy that can avoid sacks. He's good in the pocket, moving around, but his athletic skills outside of that are pretty nil. He doesn't have much.
Yeah.
His athletic skills are not very good. Never have been very good.
But Terry, it's interesting. Bill Belichick clearly lacks some warmth. You had a coach who was a great coach like Belichick, a legend, but didn't put his arms around you and hug you much. So I could make the argument, Terry, that you know what that's like after 14 years. And Chuck Noll, did it sometimes wear on you that you just occasionally, you're a fun-loving guy. Tom's a family, fun-loving guy, and the coach never puts his arms around you. It does wear on you.
Yeah, it does, but I wasn't ever going to go anywhere. I was going to retire. But listen, I told my father I'm going to play for one team, and that's it. So after 9 years, if Chuck and I couldn't coexist, then I would have retired. I was not going to another team. I never wanted to go to another team. And, they're both denying the rip. Come on. It just makes no sense.
Right.
Common sense tells you that probably both of them needed to step apart and to move on. But not like this. I just thought the time should retire or stay there in New England. Listen, if you apply the ego to this, Tom Brady probably, and we all want to be told how great we are. I'm not going to lie to you. I would have loved to have said, hey, we can't live without you. You're the best. You're everything we ever needed in a quarterback. But, that's just childish and immature. That's not something you grow to understand. I know I'm good. I don't need to be told by a head coach. And I just think that this is unfortunate. I just do not, and I'm not saying I don't want it to work. I'm just saying I just think this is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I never thought Brady would move on, but obviously if he would tell the truth, he would tell you. If Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick would have come out and said, we got in love with you, we loved you, we're no team without you, and I'm sure he would have stayed. Maybe you're right, Colin. Maybe he needed some love.
I mean, athletes are different, and people, by the way, are different. I was different in my 20s when I was single than when I had kids and was married. And, Tom has maybe evolved, and Bill's not going to evolve for anybody. And then, stuff happens. What's funny about this stuff, Terry? I don't remember. So my theory on this is the teams that have an advantage, because we're not going to have OTAs with this virus. We're just not.
Right.
We may have a very abridged preseason. I'm hoping we have a season. I think the NBA season's not going to happen. But I think about this. When you don't have OTAs and you have an abridged camp, it's going to be a big benefactor to the veteran head coaches and quarterbacks that have worked together, like Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, that Doug Peterson and Wentz now of 3 or 4 years. Go back. Right. Now, that's my gut feeling. But go back to when you played. Does an OTA matter? Does a camp matter that much once you've worked together for a while?
No, not at all. I didn't need we didn't have OTAs. We had a quarterback camp we came into town after the draft for 4 days. And even at the end of my career, I opted out of that because I didn't need that. So you don't. A veteran football team or a veteran head coach and a veteran quarterback and people in place for most of these guys in Tampa, for example, we're going to talk about Brady. They won't need OTAs. I mean, they'll need preseason. They'll have to learn the offense. He'll have to, and he will. He's a smart man. He's got a coach down there that's going to help him. They'll have to adjust their offense because he's not someone that's going to be able to hold the football, and he will pick up on this. Now they'll say, "Well, we got to get our timing together." You don't need your timing together. The guy runs a 4.6. He runs a 4.6. You don't need to work timing. If he runs a 4.3, he runs a 4.3. You played with players like that, and it's real easy to adjust. This whole thing about I got to get used to my receivers has nothing to do with timing. It all has to do with routes and whether they break it off at 10 or 12. That's the critical point. Whether they run a quick post at 8 or 12. Whether they break to the corner at 14 or 16. These are the little things that you pick up on, and they're not that hard to adjust to at all.
You're one of the most social people I've ever met in my life. You love people. You love being around them. Has this social distancing been tough for you?
I can't believe you said that. Because my daughter's here with me and her husband and the grandkids, and they're homeschooling, so the teacher's here, and my wife. We were sitting there having coffee this morning, and my daughter goes, Dad, we don't ever have to have conversations with you. I said, why is that? She said, because you just start talking and you'll say, what do you say today? You say you want to play golf today? Okay, we'll play golf today. We'll play, what do you think, about 2 o'clock? Okay, let's play about 2 o'clock. Now, you'll go this and you'll go that. What do you say? Y'all like that? I think it's a good idea. And they said, you just talk.
I know, and now, well, the good news is you got your family around you, so that's the good news.
I am lucky in that I have my wife, one of my daughters, got a grandkids here, and my one son-in-law went back Sunday, and then I talked to my other two girls, and I said, look, we'll get you down here. If we're stuck down here for a couple of weeks, we'll get a plane up there and get you down here.
Yeah. So
we can be together. So it's been, and you listen, it's tough on me, it's tough on everybody. It goes, you know what happens, Colin, the longer this goes, the scarier it gets. And then you say, you know, how do you respond to this? This is some scary stuff. What's my reaction? Well, we went and worked out this morning, Tammy and I did, and we're outside, and we walking forever, and we're around no one, and so that's cool. When we've gone in and had to go in to get food, we've done it the same way. We're very careful. And other than that, you're exactly right. You can't go out. I talked to my brother on the phone a while ago, and he said he might come by in a couple of days, depending. So everybody's just sick, and it's good to sit. But I've seen head coaches quit football and say, I'm going to spend more time with my family, and a year later they go, well, to head coaching. Why are they back to head coaching? Because that quality time with their family drove them back.
Yeah. But, you know, thank God for the NFL draft, because I've always been a fan of the draft. Yeah. You were number one, 1970. It was a whole different world. So this year they're going to do it. They're going to mostly do it on the phone this year. Tell the story. You've told it before. Tell the story of where you were, which is unbelievable, because your games weren't on TV. You had very limited Terry Bradshaw. All these major USCs and Alabamas and Texas and Oklahoma, Nebraska, and you get drafted number one that morning. Tell the story of when you got the call.
Well, I did not know. My father got a phone call from George Hallis at 4 a.m. saying they were trying to make a trade with Pittsburgh, and they were going to draft me. Now, I got up earlier. I got dressed, got my truck, got my boat out, got it all loaded up. I was headed out of the driveway at my parents' house. I was going fishing because the sand bass had schooled up on Toledo Bend, and I knew where those sandbars were, and I was going fishing. And Mike Phipps and I used to fish in the off-season together. So I'm going fishing, and my dad came out. I was backing out, and my dad says, where are you going? I said, Dad, I'm going fishing. He said, you can't go fishing today. I said, well, why not? And I told him that sandbars, the sand bass have schooled up and so on and so forth. And he says, I got a call from George Hallis, and they're trying to make a trade with Pittsburgh and to take you at the first pick. And I went, Dad, really? Come on. That ain't going to happen. I figured third, fourth round at the best. Wow. And I figured New Orleans, because they had spent all this time with me for 2 years. Never heard of Pittsburgh, never heard of Chicago. And I didn't know anything about the draft because, quite honestly, it was, hell, nobody knew about the draft until Louisiana Tech. But, I was certainly aware of it, and I knew the draft was coming up and it was going to happen that day, but I had no idea that it was that big a deal. That's why I was going fishing.
God. That's incredible. Well, it shows you, by the way.
That's a good story.
No, it shows you how talented you were, that people didn't even have tape on. Everybody at these big schools, to some degree, feels like they're overdrafted. To be number one, never play a TV game, is remarkable. He's a Hall of Famer since the 80s. Terry Bradshaw, best of luck to you and your family, and I hope we talk soon, Terry.
Okay. So to just call me, look, I'm just here for you, buddy. I love you. Just call me. You never had me on your show. You had to have me on your show at the Super Bowl, and I appreciate that. But every now and then, it just makes me feel good when I'm on your show. So have me on the show.
There we go.
All right?
All right, buddy.
Yeah.
Terry.
I'll sing a song. I swear I will. I'll tell some jokes, whatever it takes. I'm here for you, and you know it.
I know it.
All right.
We've never needed your talent.
Are you doing the show? Are you at home?
No, I'm at his radio studio in L.A., and Joy Taylor's in her house, and, we're making, you know what? You just figure it out. That's what you do. You figure it out.
I know. Crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, buddy.
All right. Well, I'm right here.
All right.
And all your listeners out there, just read Psalms 23 twice a day, and you're going to be in good shape. Okay.
Psalms.
That's what I'm passing on to you. Okay.
Psalms 23 twice a day. All right, Terry. Thank you.
Read it.
All right.
It's in the Bible.
All right.
Read it.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Got to go find one of those. Here's Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
You know that song, Colin.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
The Lord is my shepherd.
Whoa.
Sure
Well, you grew up in your household was...
I went to church a minimum of 4 times a week growing up.
And you still remember that?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to read the Bible every day, but, you know.
And you
You
work with me. That's a mark.
You gotta stay centered. All right, so Nelson Aguilar has reportedly agreed to a 1-year deal with the Las Vegas Raiders. He will join a wide receiver group of Tyrell Williams, Zay Jones, Hunter Renfrow, as well as tight end Darren Waller, who had a great season, and now Jason Witten. He spent the last 5 seasons with the Eagles, and he had a knee injury last year that kept him out of 5 of the last 6 regular season games. But while this is an interesting space for him to go, I'm actually looking more towards the Eagles' end of this, because obviously he had an injury and they had a ton of injuries last year.
They're going to upgrade their wide receiving core. There's no question. They got a lot of things going right. They got to address. They could draft 2 to 3 receivers. To me, that's their weakness.
Yeah, so they have the 21st pick in the draft, and mock drafts for the Eagles. No, you love mock drafts.
Love them.
So CBS has Jerry Jeudy from Alabama. Bucky Brooks has Henry Ruggs from Alabama. And Daniel Jeremiah is saying Justin Jefferson, who is the wide receiver from LSU, going to the Eagles.
Yeah, they're all good. Yeah, I mean,
but they are likely going to pick a wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that has one primary weakness. They're just not fast enough at wide receiver, and they're going to change. And Wentz has a great deep ball arm, so they got to fix that.
Well, I think this last season, really no one judged what happened with the Eagles because they were just decimated with injuries. But I thought it was a really good look for Wentz, at least for me, because, you know, I think Wentz is incredibly talented, but, you know, he's had some injury problems, and, you know, there's been some questions there. And I thought the way that they finished the season and the way that he put the team on his back was just really impressive. So I think they're going to be much improved next year.
Yeah.
So defensive tackle Gerald McCoy has agreed to a 3-year deal with the Cowboys. Did that last week. He grew up watching America's team and said it was an easy decision for him to head to Dallas.
Overall, I mean, it's the star. I grew up 2.5 hours away in Oklahoma City. Some portion of everybody at some point supported the Dallas Cowboys because it's all we had. It's almost like a dream come true to play for a team that I grew up watching.
Kind of an interesting angle. We don't hear that too much in the NFL about guys wanting to specifically go to a team they grew up watching. I feel like that's more of an NBA thing.
Yeah.
But it's also, you know, he just came off of a single season with the Panthers, and he obviously had an incredible career with the Buccaneers, a 9-year run, 6 straight trips to the Pro Bowl.
Dallas needs him. I mean, to be honest with you, he may not be a great player anymore. Dallas needs him.
Well, he adds some depth also. He has a relationship with DeMarcus Lawrence, and he also knows Mike McCarthy, who coached him at the Pro Bowl. Their line defense last year, according to Pro Football Focus, was 12th, and they were 9th in total defense. So they were on the higher end in the league, but he's a nice veteran add to the Cowboys, so I like that signing. Love this story. I think you will too. So we talked a lot about this when the XFL first came to be, about, you know, what it was going to develop into. Obviously, the XFL and all sports are off right now, but one of their standout players found a spot in the NFL. Houston Roughnecks quarterback P.J. Walker, who is the standout star of the XFL this year, has reportedly agreed to join the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, that's great.
The Roughnecks won all 5 of their games this season with Walker as the starter. He led the league with 1,338 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions, including 99 rush yards and 1 rushing touchdown. So he will be joining Teddy Bridgewater in Carolina. And he also was Matt Rule coached PJ Walker when he was at Temple, so they have a relationship there too. But I love this. Like, this is what we expected and predicted, was that the standout stars in the XFL are going to find a way into the NFL. It's just more motivation for guys in the XFL to play at a higher level. There's going to be higher level football. I thought the XFL did an incredible job this season.
Yep.
Sad that it had to end soon, just like everything else that's going on. But they'll be back again next year, and this is a great sign. And it kind of felt like this was heading that direction anyway, watching PJ play. But I love this.
Yeah, I actually think the skill positions in the XFL are pretty good. Line play, if you're a good lineman in the NFL, in XFL, you're not there. You're in the NFL. But I like it too. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
Coming up next, from the Tampa Bay front office side, Rick Stroud's been covering the Bucs forever. Great stories on what unfolded, not in New England anymore, in Tampa before Tom signed. Next.